Hello YouTube, just going to make this video on what I did wrong when I replaced some of the components on my 2002 Chevy S10 4.3 liter air conditioning system. First of all, do not get an awful manifold gauge like this one. It does not show negative pressure when you're running a vacuum. So get a good one that shows negative pressure. I replaced the compressor, the dryer, I believe it goes by another name also, and the orifice tube. This is the pressure switch for the low side, and way down at the bottom there, the tube, that is where you'll find it's the high side line, and inside of that you need a needle nose pliers, and that's the orifice tube. Don't forget to change that. So I put everything together, pretty sure I wasn't going to have any leaks, did everything by the book. There's plenty of videos out there on how to replace compressors and recharge the system. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm just going to get into the mistakes I made. One, I already mentioned, get a good manifold gauge. Two, well, let me backtrack. I got it all together, hooked everything up to the vacuum pump. Well, part of the problem here was, in order to, you have an on-off for the low side and high side, I didn't realize that this is a dial to turn it on and off also, because what threw me is when you turn it on, the gauge is upside down. So I figured it was just loose in there or something, so didn't bother to leave it in that position. There again, bad manifold gauge. So anyway, not knowing that, I ran the vacuum for an hour, thought everything was good. It would not take R134 refrigerant. The high side was high and it wasn't taking the refrigerant. So about ready to give up. One thing too, the compressor wasn't kicking on. What you can do to bypass it, there's other videos out there that get real complicated on getting into the relays and everything, but on the S10 you just unplug that and put a paper clip in there from one side to the other, real easy. That bypasses the switch and tricks it into running the compressor, so it will suck up the refrigerant. So that's one thing that'll save you some aggravation. Secondly, you have to run a vacuum. Like I said, I thought I did it, but obviously I did it wrong. It didn't do anything. So I started all over, got this thing turned on correctly, ran a vacuum for an hour, and then disconnected from the vacuum pump and put the paper clip in because there's no refrigerant in. Started up and run it, and what do you know, then it would take the refrigerant, and everything was great then. The gauges weren't all over the place. I could use, this gauge to monitor the pressure and everything and how much went in there, and after all that hassle, it works like a charm. So the lesson is, make sure you run a vacuum on your system. It'll save you a lot of grief, and buy a good manifold gauge. All right, hope this helped. See you later.